Hi everyone, welcome back to another live interview here at the Venture and Capital Sydney conference. I'm your host and I'm delighted to be joined by Effie Dimitropoulos, the CEO and co-founder of AUDC, the company behind AUDD, Australia's premier dollar-backed stablecoin. Effie, great to have you here.
Thanks for having me. I'm very excited about being part of Venture and Capital Summit for the first time.
And we're delighted to have you join
Thank
us.
you.
Now, Effie, you've had an incredible journey from traditional fintech and into the blockchain space. Now, there must have been a pivotal moment in your journey where you thought that, this is it and this is where finance is heading. So, can you take us back to that moment?
I'd hate to say it, but I've been in fintech for a very long time, and in that time, I've been in what's called alternative payments. And alternative payments are different to traditional banking rails, where people would traditionally say use the Visa rails or Mastercard or banking rails. Alternative payments use other instruments like prepaid cards, QR code payments, barcode payments,
Right.
voucher payments. And so when I started working in those sectors, I came across companies dealing in the digital asset space. And what was very clear to me was that traditional money, even on alternate payment rails, did not really quite work well with digital asset companies, which were on blockchain type rails. So there was the opportunity to say, well, how do we move value across blockchain in a one-to-one type of environment as opposed to what was really in the market at that moment, which was cryptocurrencies. And so that's where the pivotal moment was to launch a stablecoin.
That's wonderful, Effie. That's a strong realization. Now, when you were at Novartis dealing with all those cross border payments and seeing the friction firsthand, what were the specific pain points that made you think that, blockchain technology could actually fix this?
Absolutely. I think the immutability of transactions, meaning that you can't change the transaction once it's happened on the blockchain, the transparency of a transaction on the blockchain, the ease and the speed of which transactions can be made on the blockchain were the pain points that all of cross-border companies were trying to solve. How do we get money from A to B quickly without multiple intermediaries, without days and days of waiting for that transaction to be done? So blockchain technologies and things like stablecoins help to solve that because we don't need to use traditional payment rails to do it. It is very instant and transparent and available as soon as you make that settlement or payment.
Absolutely. Now that brings us to something that I know investors are really curious about. So when people hear stablecoin or digital currency, there's often this knee-jerk reaction that this is another risky crypto project. But I know that your company AUDD is fundamentally different. So can you help our audience understand why a dollar-backed stablecoin is a completely different asset?
Sure. When you're talking about cryptocurrencies, you immediately think about Bitcoin or Ethereum, or you might also think about Trump coin or any other Dogecoin or Dodgy coin or something with Hat coin, I don't know, Peppy the Frog. And all of those coins deal with volatility in market, supply and demand that is generated from hype, from nothing really backing it. So a stablecoin is simply exactly what it sounds like. It is saying, here is a digital representation of value, and it's backed with 100% of the value that it's representing. So in our case, an AUDD is backed one-to-one with an Australian dollar, and that is segregated funds that sits in reserve under trust in a bank account, and that is totally money that belongs to the user. So it is like, it's a very safe type asset. It doesn't devalue. It doesn't do anything that the Australian dollar doesn't do.
Absolutely, that's great to know. Now, you've actually been in those rooms with Australian regulators, helping shape the conversation around stablecoins. So that is incredibly valuable insight. So, what's really happening behind the scenes? Are they embracing this innovation, or are they still approaching it with caution?
I'd say there's still a little bit of caution. It has been a long time coming, and not only myself, but the industry, the digital asset industry in Australia is a very strong community, and we've all been very pro regulation in light of saying, well, yes, regulate, but regulate accordingly. So that means don't try to fit, what exists today. Look at what it is, and try to fit that kind of regulation accordingly. So we've been involved in conversations with Treasury, with ASIC. We've been involved in pilots with the RBA and DFCRC, the Reserve Bank of Australia. We've been involved in pilots with other regulatory authorities because we do see the importance of providing that trust to the beneficiaries and the users of something like a stablecoin globally, because we have other jurisdictions like Hong Kong, Singapore, even in the US, they're way ahead of us in this space.
Yeah.
We forecast that probably by the end of this year, mid next year, we'll have some better clarity around the regulation.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we are operating knowing that regulation is coming in some form, and so we are operating responsibly, ethically, and with a high governance model and framework.
Absolutely. That's great. Now, from what I understand, you're not just theoretical about it. So, AUDD is live on multiple blockchains and you've got real businesses using it. So, let's talk about the practical side. So, can you tell us what does actual growth and adoption look like in this space right now?
Sure. So the growth and adoption is, as you basically said, it's about utility, right? And so utility is, how do I use my AUDD? What do I do with my AUDD?
Yeah.
Can it be used to exchange with other digital currencies? Can I use it in cross-border payments and remittances, in treasury purposes? And so all of those kind of use cases are what is happening today.
Right.
So we see remittance companies utilizing it as treasury, so as that they don't have to hold funds in Australian dollars, but they can easily transfer dollars between, say, USDC and AUDD, or other digital currency exchanges who basically, run order book type of environments, and they need to have quick access to digital assets,
Yeah.
and they start the process in AUD cash, and then ultimately move it into AUDD, and then use that as treasury to perform all of their type of exchanges online. Other use cases are crypto native smart contract based businesses. If you think about real world asset tokenization, where that asset is native on the blockchain, then trying to plug in a traditional payment to make something work on the blockchain doesn't make sense. You actually it's easier to use a digital asset natively within the smart contract environment to make the value move more efficiently.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, if we're looking ahead, where do you see this going? And not just for AUDD, but just for broader digital finance ecosystem in Australia. So, what should investors be looking out for?
I think they should be looking out for some of the global trends, because in the digital asset space, in finance space in general, you don't only look, in your backyard in Australia. So if you look at some of the trends that are happening within the global environment, let's take US dollar stablecoins as an example. US dollar stablecoins last year alone exceeded their volume transactions of PayPal. They exceeded the volume transactions of Visa, MasterCard combined, right? So if you're looking at something like that and saying, well, what's going on here? It's basically using new infrastructure, so stablecoins as new infrastructure to move value across borders and value within the financial ecosystem.
Yeah.
So when you see those kind of trends, you see that that's the finance is moving into the future, and this is the future of digital finance.
Absolutely. Now, Effie, before we wrap up our interview today, I have to ask, this is your first time speaking here at our Wholesale Investor Conference. So, you've been here with us on a panel discussion. So, how's your experience been? Any key takeaways you'd like to share with us?
I think there's good interest from this community in terms of the both investment perspective as well as curiosity, and that's really important, because I think there was a show of hands in one of the rooms that said, who owns cryptocurrency, and there was a good portion of the room that put up their hands. But when I asked the same question about does everyone know what a stablecoin is, we didn't get that same reaction, and so I think it is important to keep educating the market. Certainly within this investor community, there are benefits to be gained from utilizing stablecoin rails. So, I think we'd love to have more opportunities to educate and talk to this community.
Amazing. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today. And to our viewers, thanks for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you all in my next interview. Thank you,
Thank
Effie.
you very much.